Hello and welcome to the 123rd episode of Fur, Fins, and Feathers. Today our guest is Kim Botelho of Swansea, who is going to talk about a variety of farm animals. Welcome again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You were on many years ago.
Yes, I was, with my daughter and the 4-H kids and a few different times.
Now, what have you got today?
Today I just brought a couple of chickens with me. I have a couple different varieties. This is an egg hen here, and then I have a Bantam breed of chicken. And they both lay eggs, obviously, but an egg hen's going to lay a much bigger egg than the Bantam breed. So this is a barred rock hen. She's about a year old, and she lives with my silkies because she was rehomed because her mates were not being very nice to her, so she fit in with my silkies because they're gentle.
She's quite talkative.
She is very talkative. And she lays a light brown egg, so different breeds of chickens lay different colored eggs.
Different
varieties
here, different colors.
So I have a few different breeds of chickens at home, so the different breeds lay different colors. She lays like a light brown egg. There's different blue egg layer breeds, white egg layers, the dark brown. Some have, it's just a bloom over the egg that makes it a little bit of a different color. Bloom on an egg is when the hen lays an egg, it's a protective coating. So you don't have to wash these eggs. It's protected in that bloom. Once you wash that off, they have to be refrigerated. So they're good for a month without being refrigerated as long as you don't wash off that bloom.
And they're all delicious.
And they are all delicious. And then the silky eggs are just a lot smaller, but they're still just as good. And different breeds of chickens lay different amounts of eggs per calendar year, they say. They try to calculate it out. So this breed here lays a good amount of eggs, probably 250 or so a year. So people who want an egg-laying chicken, some breeds are fancy, but they might not lay as many eggs.
Now, all your chickens, and you have ducks.
Yep.
And roosters.
Yep.
And you've got the whole gamut.
I do.
They are all inspected by the state.
Yep. The town also comes out each year, and they just do a head count of animals, make sure that they're in healthy condition and that their living quarters are healthy as well. And with chickens, you can also, it's a free service from the state. It's called an NPIP, and they'll come out and test your birds, and they put a little thing on their ankle there so you know that the bird's been tested, and they test them for avian bird flu, salmonella. So if you're getting chickens from a breeder, you should make sure that they have that NPIP certification. Hatcheries have that. If you get chicks from a hatchery or something like that, they have all those certifications.
Now you also have ducks.
Yep, I have my ducks in a separate pen. They have their own little ponds. I have three different coops with my different breeds of chickens. I keep my chickens, they have a large run. If you free range, you have to be careful of hawks because there's a lot of hawks around.
What about coyotes?
Oh, coyotes too, but I mean more the hawks during the day. They'll be flying around. I almost had one try to grab a duck this past summer, so we had to enclose the top of my duck pen. They're always on the hunt. They have to eat too, right?
And are the coyotes a problem?
I haven't personally had problems with the coyotes because I do have 2 dogs that run a big perimeter of my property. I have electric fence. So I think the coyotes know, you know what I mean, their limits. So I've never, my property line is around where the animals are so that my dogs go everywhere.
What about fish or cats?
The only thing I've had a problem with, not fish or cats, I had a mink one year trying to take chickens, and I had a weasel. I had a weasel that had actually got in because they'll find a little small hole and got some chickens and young chickens and a few rabbits.
Talk about your rabbits.
So now we only are down to a couple rabbits. When my daughter was in 4-H, we did at one point have, over 30 rabbits or so.
Your
But
daughter came on, I recall, to talk about 4-H
Yes.
and the rabbits.
yes, yep, when she was actively showing, and she went to Bristol Aggie. She's 24 now, so
Time flies.
yes, it does. So a lot of those rabbits have, gotten old and passed on, but we still have 2 rabbits left. So I'm not going to get that big into the rabbits right now. I'm going to keep it small. I have more fun with the chickens right now, and I still have a lot of goats, and
We're going to have you come back and do
yeah,
a show on
absolutely,
goats.
absolutely.
Talk about your goats.
So once my daughter, aged out of 4-H, she used to show Nigerian dwarfs and Nubians for myself for milking purposes for my own homemade stuff that I make for my family. I have crossbred my Nubian with the Nigerians to make mini Nubians. So they produce a lot of milk, and they're a little bit bigger than the small Nigerian dwarfs. Easier for me to hand milk because I hand milk my goats.
That's a big job.
Yeah, it is. I only milk once a day. You just have to get them on a schedule. I would get more milk if I did it twice a day, but I work as well, and take care of all these animals, so I just milk once a day.
Do you make soap?
I make soap, I make lotion, cheese, all of that fun stuff. Yep.
Now, who's this down there?
I'll switch them out. All right, okay. No,
Do you allow people to come to the farm, Kim, to visit?
Yeah, if people can find me on Facebook, and they can come and send me a message. I let people come all the time and check out the animals. My goats people don't have to bring treats. The goats will all come up to you. They love attention. Some people think they need to bring treats and stuff. And if I have chicks, and I'll let kids hold those as well. I like to incubate my own eggs and hatch them. But this is a silky hen, and silkies are what they like to be broody. Broody meaning they like to sit and hatch eggs. So I usually end up with a lot of silky babies throughout the year. This girl's about 3 years old, so she's a bearded silky, so she has the puffy feathers under her chin and on the top as well. And I have a few different colors of these. Some people will breed like specific colors because they like, a certain color.
What's going on with 4-H? Now, your daughter aged and graduated from Aggie.
4-H in Bristol County, unfortunately, kind of dissolved. After my daughter aged out, I had a group for a little while.
You were very active.
Yeah, so I tried to have a group a couple times. The kids would come for a little bit, but weren't as into it as like my original group of kids, because I went with my daughter all the way through it, So it's sad to see, but it wasn't just like my club. It was all of Bristol County has just kind of dissolved their 4-H program.
They found other interests.
They did. I guess so.
The internet, perhaps.
The internet, and then I think COVID happened, so you couldn't
Yes.
have the active meetings. And I know in like Plymouth and East Middleborough, they still have active groups, like if people are looking. But if people want to do 4-H, all you need is 3 families and 5 children to have a club. So it's not really that many. So if people know that many people that want to get involved, I'd be more than, happy to help them find their way into that as well, too. I've told a few people that.
So there should be a resurgence.
Yeah.
I had a couple of people from the state who came down from UMass Amherst.
Okay, yep.
And they talked about 4-H
Yep.
and the benefits of 4-H.
Oh, it definitely is an excellent program, and your kids are in. It's not just animals projects. There's hundreds of different projects the kids can do, but animal specific. In my family setting, I think it made my daughter. She was responsible for something, so if she wanted to make plans with her friends, she had to, figure out who was going to take care of her animals if she wanted to sleep at her friend's house. So it teaches them responsibility and. When they're breeding, and it teaches them they have to keep financial records. So it's just a great program overall.
It's a really unique and wonderful
It
learning
is.
experience.
It definitely is. Real life skills, going through that you're going to use in the future. Maybe not in that same aspect, but.
What is your daughter doing now?
She works at Brown University. So, yep, she's doing very, very well there.
What a wonderful place to
Yep,
work.
yep. She went there right out of high school, and she's been there ever since. She's been there 3-4 years now. So, yep.
And it started at Aggie.
It did start at Aggie. It's a great school. It's a
We've
very
had
great
many
school.
people from Aggie on
Yep.
that have come and talked about their different programs.
Yep. And I have a couple little chicks here too.
Yes, please do. I'd love to see them.
All right. I'm sorry. All right. So I hatched out some of my own eggs from once you start doing this chicken thing, it gets kind of addicting.
How old are these two?
So these two are...
These are different breeds.
Yep, they're different breeds. They're both 3 days old. This is the smaller of the two chickens I was holding. It's called a Bantam breed, so it's like a miniature of a chicken. And this is a silky, and then this one is just kind of a barnyard mix, because I have different hens of different breeds, so I'm not really sure exactly which hen was the mom to this guy. But I have 2 separate roosters, and then the roosters that I have one rooster that carries the blue egg gene, and then I have one that carries a green egg gene. So that's how you'll get the different colored eggs. So
what time do the roosters get you up in the morning?
They don't really wake me up. I mean, it doesn't. But I like the sound of it. It doesn't really wake me up. But some of them are crowing. Some of them I've heard crow at like 4 in the morning. But but that's why if you are going to do this in your own backyard and you live in a small area, all the towns are different with whatever their regulations are. A lot of small towns will not allow you to have roosters if you have under a certain acreage.
Yeah.
So, and so a lot of them will only, like Swansea, it's 10 hens that you can have if you have under 3 acres. So, this is chick season right now too. This is when a lot of people start getting their chicks, and you got to have your heat lamps and all of that stuff for these guys because they need heat till they get fully feathered like the adults there. So, for at least probably about 8 weeks.
It's a very intensive hobby.
It
isn't
is. It is. But I love to hatch them and see what, when they hatch, it's like Christmas every time, see what colors are coming out. And then you grow them up and see if they're boys or girls. And when you buy them at a store, they're usually sexed, the chickens.
Okay.
Like from a hatchery or something like that. They will sex the chickens, and it's about 90% accurate. Sometimes you end up with a rooster, so you have to just be aware if you get a rooster and you can't have one, what are you going to do with it? Do you know what I mean? If it grows up to be a rooster. But there's plenty of farms around that will take unwanted roosters and stuff, so if you post it on social media, you'll find someone. I don't want any extra roosters. If that's where you were going to
No, but I am saying that a lot of farmers might want them.
Yes, yeah. The thing with roosters, too, if you do have the amount of, property you need for them, once roosters reach a certain age, they will stop fighting. So you can't have them in, like, the same area. Unless you have a lot of land and a lot of hens, then it can sometimes work. So you don't want them really fighting. So, yeah, I have an emu at home, too. He lives with my goats.
Talk about him.
My emu, his name's Elliot. He's about my height. He's very, very docile.
I did meet him once.
Yep. I brought him to farmers markets and stuff like that. And when people come, some kids are nervous around him. He is a really big bird that's as tall as I am. But
How old is Elliot now?
He's about 4 years old. And he's great with people because I brought him everywhere. Typically, they're a big scary bird. The females can sometimes be the aggressor out of the 2 birds. And actually, the male emu is the one who sits on the eggs and takes care of the young. The female just lays the egg and just kind of leaves.
Takes off.
She takes off. She did her job and takes off. So, yeah, so he lives with my goats. I didn't end up getting another one because I don't want to change his personality. He's very, very sweet. He's used to people. He's very handable. Like I taught him how to like sit down, so he can, when people are afraid of him,
he's well-mannered.
Very well-mannered. Yep. So he lets you check him all out. You got to teach your animals, especially a bigger animal. Like if something happens, they have to be used to being handled. So if you need a vet to come out or somebody to look at them, if you don't handle them when they're young, they don't know any better. They don't know you're not trying to hurt them.
Does the vet come?
Yep, I have the vet come out and check, the horses out and all of that stuff.
You've got horses as well?
And I have horses, yep. She comes out and does that. For rabies vaccines, the vet has to administer those, but some of the other vaccines I can do myself. You can do it. So the goats, I'll do their annual, like a dog gets the annual shots.
Yeah.
And the emu also gets a shot as well. They should get it twice a year because they can get West Nile virus, which is the same. It can affect horses as well, so it's carried by a mosquito, and it's not really a pretty illness for them to have. So,
how do you keep the mosquitoes away?
Well, I mean, you want to get rid of standing water, obviously. Like all my water buckets for all the animals get changed out every day. I do live where I live. There is a stream, so you can't prevent all of it. But I mean, just trying to clean that standing water.
So as I just said, this is a labor-intensive hobby.
It is. Yes, it is.
It's nothing you can just sit back and let it happen.
No. There's lots and lots to clean up after these animals and cleaning their pens, and especially the bigger animals, the horses are. That's a lot.
And you've got how many horses?
It's one miniature and then two full-size horses.
Do you ride?
My daughter rides. A little bit. I'm not really a rider. I like to pet them and clean up after them, and I don't mind cleaning up
once in a while.
Yes, yeah.
Or an apple.
Yeah. But yeah, I will like trail ride. I'm not like looking to ride in competition or anything like that. So, yeah, they're more like lawn ornaments, we'll say.
That's very interesting.
Yes.
But now you've got a lot of goats.
Yep, I have 3 boys, bucks you call them, and then I have I have 1 wether, and then the rest are all does. I have 17 total. Some of them are getting up there in age, so they're kind of retired. I'm not really breeding them anymore, but they'll live out their lives forever with me. So
the goats produce quality milk.
They do, definitely. Yep. So I'll usually let the moms nurse their babies, and once the babies get new homes, or sometimes I keep them. That's how I ended up with 17 after all. But once they're old enough and weaned off their mom, then I'll stop milking the mom, and I'll usually just keep 1 or 2 in milk, so I'm not milking so many does at once because I hand milk. With the mini Nubians, I can get about a gallon of milk from her each time that I milk her. So.
And that milk is used for what?
I use it for cheese, for soap, for lotion. I want to try to make yogurt. For this Christmas, I got a cream separator, so I want to make some butter this year. So people get me things for gifts, to do with the animals, and I'm so happy. Cream separator. Wouldn't you be excited to get one of those for Christmas?
I wouldn't even know what one was.
Yeah, so.
And then another endeavor that you've actively become involved in is beekeeping.
Yes, yep. I'm a beekeeper as well. So I've been doing that for about 5 years now.
Do you belong to the Bristol County Beekeepers Association?
I'm not a current member, but I was in the past.
Okay, maybe you'll join again.
Yep. There's a few different good groups in this area too. So there's some right in Rhode Island too, because we're so on the border of Rhode Island and Massachusetts. But I have formed a lot of friendships with other beekeepers, and you kind of have them mentor you, and then you can mentor other people. Because as you get into beekeeping, different things happen each year. You learn your own things that work for you. What works for another beekeeper might not work for you, you know. So I have 5 hives. One did not make it through winter, but my other 4 hives are thriving, and I just got to keep them going. In a few more weeks, we'll be over the hump of when you typically will lose bees. So, and then hopefully I'll have some early spring honey. So beekeepers sometimes have to buy new bees each year if they lose their hives. So that can
and
be.
that has happened around here.
Yeah, it's this weather around here is not. It's better to be really, really cold because the bees get into like a cluster around the queen to keep her warm. But when we keep having this weather that keeps breaking, and you know it's warm 50 degrees and then it's 20, you know, it's the bees aren't. Sometimes they don't go back into cluster, so you can lose a hive that way. You can lose a hive from moisture because there's too much moisture in your hive. If you don't treat them, they can actually get mites. So if you don't do your mite treatments with them, they can die because of that as well. There's just so many different ways you can lose them. Or sometimes you'll just swarm. So there's a lot of learning for that as well. But that's what I like to learn about all these animals. And
how do you keep going?
but I like to produce, you know, things for my own family. You know what I mean? Have my own honey, and I can make my own cheese and soap, and you know where it's coming from. You know where your eggs are coming from, what they ate, how they're treated. So I just like it. It's just my thing.
I'm sure that as people view our productions, that some people might say, wow, this is something I might want to do.
Right, yeah, you got to try it and see if you like it. You won't know if you don't try. And it's good to just try to find anything that you're going to get into. Find a mentor, someone who's been there and done that. You might not go with exactly how they do things, but that's how you learn. You learn little bits and pieces from each person. And you form your own way of taking care of things. That's what, in my experience anyway.
How long have you been involved with animals?
I've always loved animals from the time I was a little kid. But when I was younger, I had like pet store type animals, we'll say hamsters and aquariums and frogs and, you know, stuff like guinea pigs, rabbits. When my daughter was 10 is when I got her first horse. So it kind of started there, and we got a pig, and then the goats, and once you're in at the farm with all the animals, if you have that passion in you, you want to just do it. You just have that love for animals.
Do you still have any pigs?
I do have one pig. I still have the same pig that we got when my daughter was young. He's like 14 now, and he's an old man. I got to help him get up every day so he can go out and go to the bathroom and eat, and he's just having trouble getting up off the ground. So that's kind of the sad part about farming, is sometimes we have to make those decisions of when quality of life, really, you know. So I'm kind of facing that right now with one of my goats and that pig, just because they're aged, and
so they're generic.
Yeah, and you want them to have their dignity. You want them to live comfortably, you know what I mean? So he seems pretty happy, though. Like, he's perfectly fine with me helping him up. He does his thing, walks around. He still, does what he did every day. It's just a little harder for him to do it. just like us, I guess, right?
We're all getting there.
Yeah, we're all aging, so.
Any other animals that interest you that you'd like to have?
I'd like to have a lot of other. It's very expensive right now to have animals, so.
It's outrageous, isn't it?
Yes, the feed and whatnot. I would have so many more animals. I always tell my daughter, if I had the money, I would rescue like miniature. I love miniature horses. I would love to like rescue miniature horses and rehabilitate them and find them new homes, and even like goats and stuff. But I only have so much land, so you can only do so much. And hay is a lot of money right now, and I don't have land to grow my own hay, so some people might be able to grow their own hay to kind of offset the costs and whatnot. But that's why I do like to produce my own stuff from my animals, so I'm at least getting back from them. So my eggs, you know what I mean? The
But
milk.
it's very expensive to keep a farm.
It is. It is. Yeah, it's not just about time. It is the money as well.
I am sure that many farmers have given up.
Yeah, I've seen like a lot of people, like not even farms, just people giving up goats and just all different animals. Like they might just have one donkey, or it's just costing them too much money to feed all these animals. So I wish I could help in that aspect, but
Have you ever had a donkey?
I had a mule at one point, but he was kind of dangerous, so we tried to rehabilitate him, but he ended up going to someone who was a horse trainer, so I
Who
found
knew
him.
what he was really doing?
Because he could be dangerous for us, because mules can kick out sideways, and it wasn't
It
a
could
good
be
situation.
dangerous.
Yeah, it wasn't a good. I had gotten it as a companion for our first horse when we first bought our farm, but it was too much, so we ended up getting the mini horse, which was a little bit more manageable. And just like anything else, you learn as you go. So sometimes you might make the mistake of getting the wrong animal, but with that being said, you got to make sure you do right by the animal and find them the best outcome if it doesn't work. That's, you don't want them to end up in a shelter or neglected or anything like that. So you got to think of that stuff as well. Like when you get into any of these projects, what would your outcome be if you can't handle it?
And we've seen on the news, many places have had an overabundance of animals.
Right.
And then suddenly somebody comes in from the state and says there are too many animals here that are not being well taken care of.
Right.
And
Yeah,
they
so
end
there's
up
that fine line.
They end up in farms and in shelters.
Right. Yep, so there's that fine line where I'm like, all right, I only want to hatch this many eggs this year because what am I doing with all that offspring? You know what I mean? So you have to be smart about it and not let that overrun you when you kind of get into this, we'll call it like an addiction, but because it kind of is.
Well, for many people, some people, I shouldn't say many, but for some people, it is an addiction.
Yes, yep. So you just have to be smart and just, kind of plan it all out. Don't just jump into it and not think of all the outcomes that can happen.
Well, this has been very, very interesting, Kim. Next time we're going to have some goats come.
All right, that sounds good.
But it's been great to see you again. Thank you for bringing. We didn't even see. Did we?
Yeah,
we did see these guys.
Yep.
Very good, and we'll have a happy spring.
Yes, and people can come pet some chicks, and
you will show us where you are, and
they can contact me. Don't just just
not
message
just
me.
show up.
Don't just show up, because I do, like I said, I have dogs that run my property, and they do their job to protect my animals. So I lock them up when people come over.
But if someone contacts you and you invite them to come, they're welcome to.
They're welcome to come. I'll walk them around. They can pet horses, goats, whatever they'd like. The emu if they'd like. Yep,
Very interesting.
The
well, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It was a great afternoon with you.
Yes, nice to see you again.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time on Fur, Fins, and Feathers.